People are like, well, how are you going to get the hearts?
Big story out of St. Louis today.
I'm gonna be honest, that there are certain hearts that I'm not going to be able to reach.
Cops are not enforcing traffic laws in a huge chunk of that entire metro region. St. Louis, a little town called Ferguson, because they figured out after the shooting of St. Michael of Ferguson, they figured out that traffic laws were nothing but tools the cops were using to harass black people for no reason whatsoever.
I said I'm tired of being peaceful and tired of being calm. You know, they've been going to war on us for over 400 years, so I ain't peaceful. I ain't no protest. I'm violent.
Does anybody remember the greatest bait and switch in the history of this country? The greatest magical trick performed right before our eyes, and not one single reporter figured out the trick or even knew there was a trick going on? It was in Washington, D.C., 7 months after the shooting of after the martyrdom of St. Michael of Ferguson. And let me see. So we had local, state, county, all kinds of people. They took a whack at trying to indict the cop, Darren Wilson, who shot Ferguson. Everybody came back and said, oh, no, it was a good shoot. The guy was a bad actor. He was violent, attacking the officer. Boom. Eric Holder and the Department of Justice, you remember the Department of Justice that sent people to his funeral? The Department of Justice that sent community organizers down there to tamp down the violence when all they did was encourage violence. So anyway, the attorneys are down there for 7 months doing a very thorough investigation. They came back and said, we really, it was really a good shoot. Even our lawyers are not good enough to indict somebody for breaking the law when the person did not break the law. And we wouldn't even get close to getting a conviction in any court in America.
Revolution! You can't stop the revolution! You can't stop the revolution!
So, that was a good shooting, but let me tell you why people were rioting in Ferguson. Let me tell you what really happened down there. Cops were giving out too many traffic tickets.
If you didn't come with a gas mask.
Hard to believe, huh? Listen to this. It'll last about a minute or two.
Now, a possible explanation for this discrepancy was uncovered during the course of our second federal investigation, conducted by the Civil Rights Division to determine whether Ferguson police officials have engaged in a widespread pattern or practice of violations of the United States Constitution or federal law. Now, as detailed in what I will call our searing report, and it is searing, also released by the Justice Department today, this investigation found a community that was deeply polarized. A community where deep distrust and hostility often characterized interactions between police and area residents. Now, this deeply alarming statistic points to one of the most pernicious aspects of the conduct that our investigation uncovered, that these policing practices disproportionately harm African American residents. In fact, our review of the evidence found no alternative explanation for the disproportionate impact on African American residents other than implicit and explicit racial bias. No other basis. Between October 2012 and October 2014, despite making up only 67% of the population, African Americans accounted for a little over 85% of all traffic stops by the Ferguson Police Department.
Burn this bitch down!
That's the problem in St. Louis. That was the problem in Ferguson. Too many traffic tickets. That's also a big thing in California. San Francisco, they just had a huge story. We did a huge video on this a couple months ago. In San Francisco, enormous number of black people are not showing up for court after getting traffic tickets. Like 50% of the failures to appear in San Francisco are black people, despite making up 6% of the population. This, of course, leads to the inevitable conclusion, not that black people are breaking the law, but that white racist cops are picking on black people for no reason whatsoever. Ditto in my little town of Wilmington, Delaware. I'll never forget this, that they have traffic cameras here, right? You know, they go off kind of frequently. They did a study on it a little while ago, in the newspaper. This is on the editorial pages. The editorial pages said the traffic cameras were racist because most of the people they were picking up on the camera for breaking the law happened to be black. So the U.S. Department of Justice, they put out, they don't have to put memos out for most of these things, right? You just have to tell people this is the way the world works. And what Eric Holder just said was, here's how the world works. Quit giving black people traffic tickets. Quit enforcing the law in black neighborhoods because black people don't like it. I don't like it as Attorney General, so knock it off. That's what we just heard in that excerpt from a 25-minute speech/press conference he gave after the martyrdom of St. Michael Ferguson. Everybody figures it out. You don't have to clonk somebody over the head with a hammer to give them the message. That was the message. But not only did cops figure it out, they have to stop giving out tickets to black people. Black people figured it out. The cops were not eager to keep giving them tickets for breaking the law. Thus, we go back to St. Louis. Thus, we have this.
In St. Louis, where the driving is so dangerous, school officials are afraid to let their students walk across the street.
In fact, 2 kids were struck by a hit-and-run driver just trying to get home yesterday. Fox 2's Andy Banker is here with some disturbing video of the blatant disregard for children, the laws, everything in this neighborhood.
Kind of stunning to see this, guys. People just ignoring stop signs, speed limits, right next to a school and right in front of our camera. There seems to be no fear of getting a ticket. Residents say police could be out there riding them all day long.
I mean, they was just shoot across Euclid.
And this right in the school zone, right in front of the Northside Community Charter Elementary School. Police say 2 10-year-old children were struck by a hit-and-run driver getting off of their bus after school yesterday. They went to a hospital, though their injuries were not serious. They were not Northside Community School students, but school staffers helped them until EMS arrived.
They were just crossing the street. We picked up their shoes off the street, saw them too on the ground, and 2 beautiful kids.
Stella Arandu is the school's principal and founder. She says aside from a handful of students who live just a few houses away, none of the close to 400 students are allowed to walk home without their parents. Even crossing the street to get into their cars can be precarious. The school staff, parents, and neighbors say this situation is unacceptable. They're calling on police and city leaders to do something and reinforce those things we're all taught in school before there's an even greater tragedy.
And go by the rules and not do things that are wrong. And there are consequences for those things. And one of the consequences is not just what happens to you, it's what happens to the next person.
They should be able to cross the street. And even if a bus is out there and you see that stop sign, you know you're supposed to stop. Because those are kids.
Just like Wild Wild West, anybody can do whatever, drive whatever and however they want on these streets.
The 2 children are expected to be okay. Witnesses say that hit-and-run driver abandoned the car and ran off. Police say he remains at large tonight. They also say they are increasing enforcement in the area. But neighbors and school officials say they haven't seen it, and obviously there was none going on when our camera was out
unbelievable.
That
They didn't even slow down. Some of those cars you caught didn't even slow down for
and
the stop sign.
It seems like it's about 50-50. I'm not exaggerating. I mean, just boom, boom, boom.
Wow.
Like stop signs aren't even there.
That's a mess. All right, thanks, Andy.
Isn't that amazing? You got 3 reporters there who covered the whole Ferguson thing. That was the biggest thing in their lives. You get 3 reporters who covered the Eric Holder traffic ticket scandal. Oh yeah, there's people in Ferguson, and it's not just Ferguson, it's all over that area. There's people in Ferguson, man, they're giving out way too many traffic tickets to black people, damn it. We got to put a stop to that right now. And then these people, they know that's the world they live in. Then people stop obeying the law, kids start getting hit by cars, and these same reporters look in the camera and go, wow, that's unbelievable that people wouldn't obey the law. Another lady goes, yeah, there's got to be consequences for breaking the law. That's the world. That's the insane world we're living in now. See, I can handle just one part or another. Whether if you're gonna if you're going to, stop writing traffic tickets to people, if the Attorney General of the United States says writing traffic tickets is a racist thing, and every department in America now starts backing off their traffic tickets, okay, that's one thing. That's a thing. But please, don't come at me and your TV reporter when people start getting run over by cars and going, man, I can't figure this crazy thing out. What the hell's going on? Because that's embarrassing to you as reporters. It's irritating to us as viewers. And for black kids, well, ignoring the consequences of ignoring criminal behavior, well, that sure doesn't make the black kids angry.